Good afternoon and welcome to Oliver C. Dawson Stadium here in Orangeburg, South Carolina for today's MEAC Football digital broadcast on ESPN. Featuring the Savannah State Tigers as they visit the South Carolina State Bulldogs here in Orangeburg. Dee Hanson joined by Steve Foster. Thanks for joining us here this afternoon. And we have South Carolina State Senior Day looking for their fourth straight win, one of the hottest teams in the MEAC. And they take on a beleaguered Savannah State squad that's leading the MEAC altogether to move on to another conference. So a big spoiler time here, Savannah State. Savannah State, a couple of keys for them and a couple of keys for South Carolina State.
Absolutely. Savannah State, they need to beat the rush hour. South Carolina State rushes the ball so well, and Savannah State has to stop that rushing attack as a key to winning this game. The balancing act comes from the offensive side of the ball with sophomore Devon Gibbons. He has been outstanding for the Savannah State Tigers, whether they win or lose. On the flip side, 21 Jump Street, it's not just an old school TV show. It's the number that South Carolina State needs to keep its opponent from attaining, and it also needs to get itself past 3 touchdowns to win this game. And then Nick at Night, Tyrese Nick, the diverse quarterback, number 3, he will be doing it all for his Bulldogs.
If you like dual threat quarterbacks, we've got him here this afternoon. Devon Gibbons here for Savannah State.
Yes, the 205-pound, 6'2 sophomore, he can throw the ball, and he can definitely get his team up and down this Orangeburg, South Carolina field. He'll need to tonight to win this game.
South Carolina State has Tyrese Nick. He has 6 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 games.
And he's dynamic, run pass as well. 138 yards rushing last week and a win against Florida A&M.
South Carolina State trying to get to 500 on the season up against Savannah State and the Tigers, rounding things out on Senior Day here from Orangeburg, South Carolina. You are watching MEAC Football right here on ESPN. Back here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, here at Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. Dee Hanson joined by Steve Foster on ESPN. Thanks for joining us here for a MEAC matchup that has the Savannah State Tigers, who come in at 2-7, 1-5 in MEAC play, gunning for one last victory before they move on to the SIAC, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, easy for me to say. And then you have South Carolina State gunning for their 4th straight win on the season. And even though it's a Senior Day, they have 1 game remaining on the schedule. That coming up next week here in Orangeburg against North Carolina Central. And it will be Savannah State to receive, clad in their white and blue. And South Carolina State trying to get to 500 on the season at 4-5 and 3-2 in conference play, 1-2 here at home. That win coming against Delaware State to touch off the start of this 3-game winning streak. And now here is the return, and an always dangerous return team here, Savannah State getting up to the 32-yard line. And that will be a 1st and 10 coming up here in the first shot for Devon Gibbons out of Stone Mountain, Georgia, 6'2", 205. A pair of sophomores under center here this afternoon, and Gibbons gets his first opportunity.
Yes, and again, run pass option. His running options are handoffs, and he's got complementary backs, so they kind of rush by committee, but they get the job done.
And he is definitely a rusher, leads the team 119 rushes on the season, but the lefty throws first to start out this series, and it's incomplete, trying to hit Zar Benabi out of Nassau, Bahamas.
Well, you know, it's great that the game has grown, and now that we have players from all over the continent and the globe, why not have a receiver from the Bahamas, Alex Brown, doing a great job in breaking up that pass for the Bulldogs.
DJ Bell also sees time at quarterback during the season, but Gibbons leads the way, and he's able to get this one off, and I believe that was picked off. Getting everything it is. It's intercepted on the second play of the game.
It's our man Durant, number 14.
Just got underneath that one. Yep. Durant with the pick.
And a great anticipation, but there was pressure coming up the middle for the Bulldogs, and that of Paul McIver, the defensive lineman, number 76.
As the second pick of the season for Durant.
That may be McKeever. Check that, but it's still number 76.
Now, Nick will get his opportunity on the ground to start out, and taken down from behind, but still a reasonable gain here for South Carolina State offense that has been doing yeoman's work all season long, now really upping all their numbers over those last 3 games during their win streak. Almost 20 points per game average now. And on the ground, they're 5th in the MEAC at nearly 200 yards per contest.
A good gain on first down. Anything 4 or more is great. Right now, Nick is in trouble.
And that is definitely not 4 or more.
That was backwards, unfortunately. And it looks like Desmond Young, number 43, the linebacker for Savannah State. Nick just too indecisive in what he wanted to do. And check that, 58 for Savannah State.
Stephen Banks, yep. Now his 10th tackle for a loss on the season.
Got to be deliberate with the football. The clock works for passes and rushes. Got to get rid of it.
A 3rd down coming up here. South Carolina State gunning for it all into the end zone and should have been picked off.
Yeah, look for Caldwell, number 82, and a good break on the ball in the secondary by Donald Rutledge, and Rutledge breaks up the pass. Effectively, could have been a punt, exactly, but I like the gamesmanship as the Bulldogs going for the end zone there. Probably an ill-advised pass, but it ball falls harmlessly to the turf, and now the punt team comes out, and a very good punter in Petaway. Petaway we've seen punt the ball and kill it inside the 10.
Huge stop here, though, for the Tigers. They give the ball up in their own territory. Don't give up any points.
That is also a bonus.
Here's Petaway. And he'll keep this. Oh, goes out the back of the end zone. Even juked me out there for a little bit.
I tell you, sometimes these really good punters, that lead foot, even when they want to hit for about 30-5 or under 40 yards, because they're such good technique, the ball carries.
Gibbons again now. Last year against South Carolina State, had a great game. 2 passing touchdowns, nearly 300 yards through the air. And what was the worst loss of the season last year for South Carolina State when they last took on this Tigers squad? 34-10 in Savannah. And now a fake on the pass and on the rush to the left goes nowhere. This South Carolina State team has been outstanding when it comes to playing the run. Jalen McLeod goes nowhere, the sophomore, and that'll bring up a 2nd and long situation.
And there's 76 again. McKeever.
As good as South Carolina State is against the run, they're that much better against the pass. 4th in the MEAC at under 200 yards through the air given up.
And a takeaway already.
They're +6 on the season in that category, leading the way in the MEAC now. There's a run by Gibbons, his first of the game. First really good yield of yardage for the Tigers.
I tell you what, though, that play didn't go as far as it could because good defensive technique as the pitchman is taken out of the picture by the Bulldogs secondary, which allows the pursuit to come inside out and swallow up Gibbons.
Very good linebacking core. Lane Jones along with Chad Gilchrist making the stop on that particular run for South Carolina State. And 5 wides open up the field for Gibbons to run it as he back ends through. Trying to get a first down.
Good technique by South Carolina State to stay home, even though this may be a first down. As you watch the pursuit, not run with the pitchman, the option for Gibbons, they stay home and they corral him, even though it is a first down.
So Savannah State trying to make a pretty big push here after giving up the ball. No points given, and now trying to get a sustained drive going. And a play action, here comes the rush. And that's going to be trouble. This should be a flag. There it is on the intentional grounding.
Because the reason, two reasons. One, you're not outside the tackle, and then there was no receiver anywhere in the area. And I'm not sure if the ball got back to the line of scrimmage.
It did not get back to the line of scrimmage, I promise you that.
Good pursuit, inside push, and a couple of Bulldogs in the face of Gibbons. And he just had to get rid of it, or he's going to take the sack and lose about 8 yards.
Bruce Johnson has been a stalwart there on the line, creating pressure.
South Carolina State defense has been very consistent and very good throughout this season.
Cordell Brown also in the mix there on the rush. Long way to go now after that last loss of down. Trying to make up a little bit here on the ground, going to the right side from Jalen McLeod.
Great pursuit, Gilchrist. And there's a flag. Looks like it's late.
And if this yields a first down, Coach Pugh will not be pleased, I'm sure.
Senior day.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 9, defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Kendrick Gathers, senior there for South Carolina State, with the miscue that moves the chains after really driving the Tigers back.
The Tigers started this drive at their own 20, so it's usually unlikely that you go 80 yards, but when you can get complimentary 15s, that's helpful.
Here's Gibbons again now, and he'll look over and get a new play in. He really likes to lower that shoulder as a quarterback. Might want to watch out for that. Modest gain on the play brings up second and around 7 to go.
Yes, but I tell you, tracking for the Bulldogs is Cornelius Walker, number 46, and he does exactly what he's supposed to do on that second level, is just come down the line, mirror the quarterback, and as soon as Gibbons turns up and crosses the line of scrimmage, attack and make a tackle.
Really opening up the field again for Gibbons to run the football right up the gut this time for a first down. Lots of wideouts, spreading that defense out. Even the 4-down linemen, Steve, are spread out.
Yes, and tackle made again by Gilchrist, and he actually fights off a blocker, but it's downfield on this play and enough to pick up a first.
Gibbons easily leading rusher on the team. Around 417 yards coming into this contest, averaging over 3.5 yards per carry. Up that mark after that last run. First down into South Carolina State territory. Gibbons a little bit confused about what he should do, and finally he just tucks it in and runs.
Well, he gets over that mark that I like, that 4 yards on first down. And even with the indecision, D. Hansen, a good pickup.
4 yards.
So 2nd and 6. And Savannah State mounting a bit of a drive here. But this time they go nowhere up the middle on the carry. And that was Bruce Johnson in on the tackle.
Yes. And the right defensive end comes crashing down into the middle of the offensive line and makes a heck of a tackle, as you mentioned.
On Saxton. And coming up high on Saxton. Steve?
Well, he can come up high because he's so much bigger. Usually low man wins, but with that size and strength advantage, 98 beats 6.
Did you like it when guys try to take you high?
Yeah, I did. But if they're that big, it's tough to get away.
That's right. Okay, now again, empty backfield here for Gibbons, and he will throw this time. A little bit of pressure, though, causes him to go ahead and spin move his way. Look at that, and get near the 30-yard line, just shy.
Well, nice ball fake. And the thing was, Gibbons was past the line of scrimmage, so Gilchrist shouldn't have gone for the ball fake. He should have just gone for number 3. He jumps up to try to knock the ball down or intercept it, but the ball couldn't have been thrown. It would have been an illegal forward pass. Just make the tackle.
Saxton at 5'8", you can see him there to the left of Gibbons. Is going to be your other running back here, and a first down again carry here for Gibbons. South Carolina State in their last 3 games have not given up any points in the first quarter. Well, danger of possibly doing that here. Yes. Wisely, even though Gibbons doesn't gain anything because Johnson comes in and breaks it up. It would have been worse had he given it off to Saxton on that play, and it'll be second down.
Yes, both of the options covered mightily, blanketed, as you said. You get that rush off the right end, and 98 does his job in swallowing up Gibbons in the backfield.
Gilchrist did a good job tracking Saxton.
Absolutely, so there was no option on that play.
Feels like Savannah State's had the ball the entire time here in this first quarter. Again, they open it up and flags fly. Might have some motion here against the Tigers. It'll be the first one of the game, procedural call here against Savannah State.
Well, as you mentioned, South Carolina State's defense, regardless of where they are on the field, and here you see the left tackle trying to get an advantage, D. Hansen, on Johnson, as you mentioned. Once you feel that rush coming off that edge, those offensive linemen want to get in those back pedal punch steps quickly as possible.
Now here's a screen getting out to Saxton, and he can do some damage in space, but will shy the first down on that one, just trying to get more yardage back in play here. Savannah State, Giovanni Lugo is their kicker, and he has had a tough go at 2 of 8 on the season. Cool. Junior. So if they get in this kind of territory, it's the last game of their conference time here in the MEAC. I have a feeling Tigers going to be ultra aggressive.
Yeah, may make this 2-down territory, right, even though it's usually a field goal up.
Gibbons again flushed out, and he gets sacked. Huge play coming through, and making the tackle for loss and sack is Damu Ford, the senior linebacker.
And Ford does not go for any type of fake. He goes for the legs to take out the engine for Gibbons so he cannot move or throw the ball. And Ford sucks up the South Carolina State lineman, sucks up Savannah State's quarterback. No shiftiness there. And now a punt has to occur.
Has to happen. That's how big that defensive play was for South Carolina State.
They didn't want to let you down by having somebody score in the first quarter.
Happening right now, at least. Oh, and the fumble, and Savannah State will get it back and at the 12-yard line.
And that was just a lack of concentration. And a fumble on the punt. And I was a little bit too quick. And nobody was pressuring the return man. It just was poor execution. And a lot of times, D, what happens, you get under a punt, when your elbows are wide, the ball, it makes it like a basket, and the elbows were wide. You're always taught. And guess who was my punt return coach when I went to football camp? Billy White Shoes Johnson. And he said, always keep those elbows close.
He knew what he was doing, and now Gibbons does as well, as he will keep it out of the read option there and gets inside the 10-yard line. The fumble there by Traquan Dubose, the redshirt junior, just lost track of it right in front of him.
And with that recovery, the Tigers start in the red zone.
D'Angelo Durham with the recovery for the Tigers. Now Gibbons again will be flushed, throws it out, it'll be caught at the 9. It's a gain of a yard on the play.
Let me tell you, if you want to talk about someone literally getting drilled, Alex Brown, he does drill the receiver there, and that's poor Jalen McLeod with his back. to the defender, and he just got run over.
5th reception of the year from McLeod. Obviously, he's not usually in that position.
And that 5th reception came with a price.
Another big 3rd down, Steve. Here we go.
Bulldogs hanging tough in this first quarter.
First quarter already down to 4.5 to go. Here's Gibbons. Edge rush shows. He will throw it. It'll be incomplete. Underthrown and way low. Having a chance on that one was McLeod. And that'll bring up a 4th down.
We roll the dice and just go for it, given the fact that you said there have been kicking woes. We're going to bring on the kicker.
Bring Lugo in here. So Giovanni Lugo.
Got a cool sounding name, but
he does.
The results, as you mentioned, even for this, a 26-yarder could be interesting.
We will see.
Giovanni Lugo on the attempted field goal.
It's got some lettuce come out the back end there, too. See how this flies on the right hash. Field goal is up, and it is good. So 3:42. Savannah State strikes first after another turnover. See what South Carolina State can do coming back. You're watching MEAC Football right here on ESPN.
On entertainment. Now when you go out, you cash in. What's in your wallet?
Back here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, Dee Hanson joined by Steve Foster as we continue on here with South Carolina State and Savannah State in MEAC play, where Savannah State came out. They received the ball. They threw an interception on the second play of the game. Kept South Carolina State from doing anything on that around the 30-35-yard line. Forced a punt. Savannah State came back and, fueled by a couple of penalties, got down the field and ended up getting a 26-yard field goal when it's all said and done from Giovanni Lugo, and they lead 3-0 here late stages of the first quarter.
And a good defensive stance to limit the Tigers to 3.
That's right. Lugo now will do the honors on the kickoff, and it'll go out of bounds. So we've seen that a lot recently throughout the course of the season, especially when you have Tayshawn Baines, the backfield, to deal with. He already has a touchdown on the year and averages nearly 24 yards on the returns.
So with the penalty, they're just going to mark the penalty yardage off. They're not going to make them re-kick because you have that option as well.
Well, you're back after this. You're watching MEAC Football right here on ESPN.
New Dayquil Severe with Vicks VapoCool. The daytime coughing, stuffy head, vaporize your cold medicine.
Okay, we're back here at Savannah State. Defense back out on the field. They had a long time to rest, Steve. That last drive taking a lot of time off of the clock for the Tigers. But South Carolina State also, I'm sure that offense has been raring to go for a bit of time here in the first quarter.
Yeah, you got to. And the good thing is only down 3 points with all of the chaos that had gone on. And with Savannah State having the ball for as long as they had, 3 points will be taken every time.
Here is Tyrese Nick's second go, and he's just going to fling it down the right side of the field, and it'll be incomplete. Good coverage down the field as well. And that will bring up a 3rd down now after a rush attempt really didn't go anywhere up the middle against this Tigers defense. That intended for Rodriguez Thames.
And I think the sun may have played a little bit of a factor on that one. Looking back, sometimes, especially up with the horizon, you look right in the sun.
Rose there in the bottom of the screen is a big playmaker here for South Carolina State. Under 3 to go, and Savannah State looking for a big stop here. Now flags fly.
Just seems like the offense for Savannah State just really hasn't gotten itself on track here in this first quarter.
For SC State, too, they're having a tough time. And
Excuse me, I'm in at South Carolina State.
And a timeout taken on the field here just to try to get things all figured out and squared away. We'll try to do the same as we will look and see how South Carolina State bounces back. You're watching MEAC Football right here on ESPN. What are you doing? Okay, we're back here at Oliver C. Stadium here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and taking in the band. Always great here, South Carolina State, and Tyrese Nick will get things going through the air to get picked off. No, it's the second time in this game that we've seen the opportunity fall through the hands of number 21, Donald Rutledge, who has 2 INTs on the season. The team collectively has 10. They probably should have
12, and he should have 2 more. Nonetheless,
one in the end zone, and that time at least it does stop South Carolina State. And this defense for the Tigers, much maligned coming into the game, giving up over 30 points per game, has looked very good.
Well, Tyrese Nick has not gone on track. I think he's maybe trying to take too big of chunks out of the Savannah State defense.
High snap, Petaway is able to hold on to it, and not only that, but get a kick away. It takes a nice Bulldog bounce and then settles in around the 23-yard line. Good coverage downfield. The defense now for the Bulldogs has everything in their end of the floor. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Hard to stop a train.
For the most part, Eric Rayburn, the head coach for Savannah State, in his 3rd season has not had a good go at it. He's 8-22 overall. He has 19 seasons under his belt as a head coach. But right now he has his team in good position to get something going again on offense. Saxton there on the carry to the right-hand side. And right now you're talking about Buddy Pugh, the head coach for South Carolina State, who is all 9-1 against Savannah State. Not used to losing to this team, and I don't think that, I mean, we have a lot of game to go here, but the Tigers playing much better than I think people expected here this afternoon.
Absolutely, and Coach Pugh was 9-0 until last year.
That's right. Here's play action Gibbons, and now he will get smacked down, and a big loss on the play on the sack, that by Alex Brown, the defensive back, redshirt senior for SC State's defense. Still awfully tough.
And as you see, Alex Brown, he doesn't come in out of control. He comes under control, goes for the middle of Gibbons' body and wraps him up so that the jukes and the fakes all get negated, because that waist, it can't juke. It has to stay put. Good tackle in the backfield by Alex Brown.
Brown used to picking the ball off, though. He leads the team with 4 INTs, gets the sack and movement again against the Tigers.
Maybe because of the music. You go from the OJs, then you get some Cameo, and then you get some Heavy D.
I'm saying that's distracting?
Could be distracting for the offensive linemen. They like to move. You know, they get up, they pull around the ends, and they block cornerbacks out of the way for guys like me.
Okay.
You know, so, and they like to go to the parties and shake the groove thing.
Yeah. I'm sure they do. I'm not going to get much more into that, but I'm sure they do.
Shouldn't do it when the ball's about to be snapped.
No, that's a bad time. It's a bad time. Under a minute to go now. The Tigers on offense, again, as if they have been almost the entire first quarter. Here's Gibbons raring to go again, but he'll get sacked again.
Ford, first man there.
Second sack of the game already.
The defense of the Bulldogs, very impressive.
Yeah, that was a big time, though, to come up big. This is a Tiger squad with only 3 points on the board, but have, for the most part, dominated this game on that side of the football.
And there is a song, Big Time. That's Peter Gabriel off the So album.
This is Lugo now. We'll continue on with the music history lessons throughout the course of the game. Don't go anywhere. Only a yard back in his own end zone. And he will just get that one away.
Good kick, though.
Very nice kick. All the way back to the 44-yard line is where DuBose, who's had a big-time fumble that resulted in those 3 points on the board, will be able to keep that ball in play and stay on the Bulldogs side this time.
Still 11 seconds in this first quarter. And Tyrese Nick will get things going. You know, he does have big playability. He's at home. We've seen him do well in this stadium. And again, I think this team wants to send Coach Pugh out a winner, getting an opportunity today to get back to 500.
138 yards rushing last week against Florida A&M. And this time a handoff, though, that from Nick last week. That run by Cummings is short. That'll be done for the first quarter. We switch sides. The Bulldogs will look for any kind of points coming up in the second quarter play. They've only yielded 3 so far, but Savannah State looking good. You're watching MEAC Football right here on ESPN.
Your card. Get yours at discover.com/NHL.
Oh, it was an ugly one in the very first quarter there, Steve. But Savannah State with 3 on the board, 2 turnovers. We had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that got the Tigers down the field. Now all kinds of movement on the line as we get started with the second quarter of play. And we have an interception, underthrown, but this might be nullified based on infraction against the Tigers' defensive line.
You're absolutely right. But a free play. You know, a lot of times people, when they throw the ball, they just throw it down the sidelines. Give your receiver an opportunity to make an adjustment. A little wrinkle in towards the middle of the field would be helpful. And that's help out your quarterback.
It is offsides against Savannah State as soon as the mic gets figured out there. So,
and as you can see, 2 men jump, so you have your choice of 58 or 56. Either way, it's 5 yards.
And into Tiger territory here for the Bulldogs.
Got too much coming in.
Second and short, D.
Makes it easier. Keeper by Nick, and he'll sprint down the middle of the field, and he will have a chance. Into the end zone he goes. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
Well, what a great way to get back on task. It's 48 yards as the mark from the second quarter start for the South Carolina Bulldogs gets their sophomore quarterback, number 3, Tyrese Nick. And now he's Nick at night, and he's Nick during the day for the first points.
11th rushing score of the season for Nick. Extra point coming up here from Dylan Bredesen.
It's movement on the line.
And there is movement on the line. We're going to have to redo this.
Left side of the line moved.
Movement, yep. The band doesn't realize it.
Well,
it is against South Carolina State. Move it back.
Nifty 48-yard run there by Tyrese Nick. A great decision to not hand the ball off. Goes left side, finds the crease between the tackle and that tight end or the end receiver on the left side of the formation, D.
It's his new long of the season. Previously it had been 42 yards, 48 on that touchdown run by Tyrese Nick. And re-kick the extra point. Snap is down. The kick by Bredesen is still good. 7-3 is your score in the first lead of the game for the Bulldogs up on the Tigers. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN. Bulldogs back on top here. The first time actually in the game against the Tigers of Savannah State. One of the better defenses in the MEAC, the Savannah State Tigers. But now South Carolina State has that 7-3 advantage and try to get to 500 this season at 4-5 and getting that much better and closer to doing so. Here's a short kickoff and fielded. Saxton brings it right side. He's at the 30, and he actually doesn't get quite there. Trying to make a little bit more out of that. Stretch the field as best he could, and South Carolina State good coverage downfield.
Jalen Evans, number 12, staying in his lane, staying home, not coming and veering into the middle of the field so that if contain gets broken on the far side, There'd be a lot of running room for the return man from Savannah State. And then as soon as that return man crosses the face, go low, get into those legs, and make the tackle.
See what Devon Gibbons can do here. McLeod to his left and a short field to the right. And it will be back on the ground for the Tigers, but nothing doing up the middle for the most part. Gilchrist in there. And that will bring up a second down and around 8.
Along with Walker, number 46. And I tell you, this South Carolina defense plays very good assignment football, and that's why they don't get fooled very much on fakes in the backfield.
Gibbons back out of the shotgun. Done a good job of spreading the defense, and again he does right up the middle. Great blocking. And the A gaps there as Gibbons keeps. Is just shy of the first down by a yard. Third down.
In the quarterback draw, bringing the front, that's that football judo, bringing all the pressure from the 4-down lineman for South Carolina State into the backfield. Then you slide out, as you mentioned, the A-gap partner. The left side door, right up the middle, and almost enough for a first down.
Two big tight ends in there, 87. And Tyler Hagan, he comes in at 6'7", 270. Stavion Stevenson, number 44, also 6'3", 220. They got the edges, but this time I don't think they got the run up the middle.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That is, let me tell you, what a good defensive push and surge at the point of attack. And I'm not sure if the spot's going to go for the Tigers.
Cordell Brown, we've seen him a lot at 6'2", 260. We're throwing height and weight out there.
Sizable.
He can bring it too.
Sizable with a low center of gravity.
Fourth down, what do you do?
Well, again, as you mentioned,
I mean,
Savannah State leaving the conference on the road. Why not?
Send 3 receivers to the left side and go for it. Watch out for the right side. Gibbons will hand it off. And if you have the mark up there in the top of the screen is correct, then that will be a first down.
Yes. By about
it will be
a half a man.
That's all it takes. Game of inches.
I like that. I've heard that somewhere a couple times.
Might have been a movie centered around that.
Well, listen, South Carolina State making it very difficult to pick up 10 yards. And now they have the lead, playing at home senior day. Even more inspired.
It's running 12-19.
Gibbons keeping this team going. But McLeod also the bigger of the two backs between him and Sexton. Will get the call again, and well, he can dance in a small amount of space, able to find a little bit more room, had maybe just a yard. Now we got some pushing and shoving going here at midfield too.
Yeah, you had to let him know when the clock starts.
Alex Brown sticking up for his defensive mate, Dante Nichols.
Czar Benaby mixing it up with a couple of defenders for South Carolina State. He is more the go-to guy for short yardage situations. The junior wideout you can see at the top of your screen all by himself there at the 40. Inches up there. Second down and 7. As the Tigers try to get back into this, and Gibbons, as soon as they have a little momentum, this is what's been going on this game, South Carolina State gets the sack.
Yes, and again, some of this is great pressure up front and a blitz off the corner by
Jaden Brunson, the freshman.
However, it's also good coverage in the secondary.
That's right.
Because Gibbons would have loved to throw that ball somewhere, but you're not going to throw it because already one interception has occurred, and that was on the first series. So Gibbons says, hey, he's got to eat it, and I'm okay with that. As long as you don't turn the ball over, that's okay. You can live to fight another day.
Hey, your defense has been playing well, and you're only down by 4 on the road here.
Right. You just don't like the turnover.
Now, there's a timeout taken. It's 3rd and mile. And Savannah State will try to collect themselves here and decide what they're going to try to do to get some yardage back or just go for the bomb. We'll see how they do it. Down 7-3 here on the road against South Carolina State. And we'll see how South Carolina State's defense will position themselves, Steve.
Yeah, you know what? I tell you, as long as they play assignment ball, you see Tyrese Nick got going in that last series. And so I think the confidence will build. I think the excitement from the stands and the fans, and, of course, trying to get back to 500, that's huge. And I think all of those factors today will help South Carolina State. Nonetheless, Savannah State, even with the 2-7 record, as you mentioned, they handily beat the Bulldogs last season 34-10.
Right now, South Carolina State won 3 straight, 4 of their last 5, and they are tied with North Carolina A&T with the winning streaks in the conference at 3. And now the defense out on the field, we'll see. They can keep Gibbons from getting any more than getting to the original line of scrimmage. He just gets past it a little bit, but that was a calculated offensive call there. Obviously, with the delayed draw there from your quarterback, you don't intend to get first down, but at least you get a good chunk back in a little better position for the battle of field position.
Well, and it was about 11 or 12 yards gained.
So, Williams actually, this is Lugo getting it away. And a fair catch made at 21-yard line by DeBose.
And better executed.
9:38 left here in the first half of play. South Carolina State looks for more, leading 7-3 against Savannah State. This is MEAC Football on ESPN.
Get DirecTV and catch college football games anywhere with the DirecTV app. More for your thing. That's our thing. Visit DirecTV.com.
Tyrese Nick and company chomping at the bit, I'm sure, to get back out on the field after their last drive that had a 48-yard scamper right up the middle from the sophomore quarterback. Will have another opportunity to go back-to-back possibly here, leading 7-3 at home to Savannah State. D. Hanson joined by Steve Foster here on ESPN as we continue on with MEAC Football. Very end of the season. This is senior day for South Carolina State. They still have one game on the schedule left, though, a makeup next week. But this is a big one here on the pitch to the right-hand side, and not much going there. And the Tigers, one of the better teams in the MEAC against the run. Datron James not able to find any room to run. Second against the pass are the Tigers, but 5th against the rush. Either way, top 5 in this conference is always good.
Yes, it is.
Another attempt here, and on the ground, the Bulldogs unrelenting here, and a much better run here for James.
Loses a shoe.
Found it.
And you can switch out rushers for South Carolina State and not lose.
That's right. Jenkins now. We've seen the redshirt sophomore have some big games on this field.
Correct.
Trips left now on a 3rd down. Keeper Nick doesn't get it.
I was twerking to the music.
And again, this defense is really coming up big in the middle. Curious call there on a 3rd down, but needless to say, the Bulldogs have gotten here on the strength of their run, and they're going to try to continue to do that here this afternoon.
Seemed like if the first man threw, the rusher, the running back, if he would have had the ball, I think the gap was open. I think by the time Nick got through that same gap, it closed quickly on him.
Here's Petaway at his own 13. Saxton has been doing the majority of the returns here for Savannah State, and he will not be out. There's Baldwin this time. He gets underneath that, just gets past the 42-yard line. Savannah State's offense back out on the field, down 7-3. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN. South Carolina State trying to hold serve here. They lead 7-3 at home to Savannah State. And the Tigers looking for an elusive win here at 2-7 on the season. Have lost their last two. Last win came against Norfolk State in Savannah, Georgia, 32-3. But since then, they fell at Delaware State, and most recently against North Carolina A&T. And the defense is coming big for the Tigers. Now the offense trying to get back in the groove of things and sweep to the right. Get some good yardage there for Savannah State. And they'll bring up a second down, but more manageable situation as far as yards needed, about 5.
And a good rush to the right side and a cut up into the defense. And good plays by both the offense and the defense. That could have been a bigger gain, but listen, on first down, 4 more is great.
James Kicklighter on the carry. And this time, another big gain, this time up the middle. Not a lot of fanciness behind that one for Saxton. And that'll be a huge gain all the way to about the 35-yard line of South Carolina State.
And the Tigers finding something on that right side of their offensive line where they can run between their guard and tackle. And 2 really good gains, first for 5, and then to move the chains. As you mentioned, Saxton takes advantage.
A lot of passing here for the Tigers, but they are noted for their rushing attack. This time, they didn't fool anybody on a bit of a delay there for South Carolina State. This time, staying home helped.
Yes, it did, and I think one of the offensive linemen got rolled up under as the tackle was made right behind him. And so there's going to be a stoppage of play.
Just around the 35 here for the Tigers. And their kicking game. Suspect coming in. The only way they don't have a goose egg on the board there for that 3 points. And that right after getting a turnover. So now this offensive line has done a pretty good job here for the Tigers, especially in the interior. Finding some room for Gibbons early in the first quarter, and now here in the second, Saxton.
Yes. And again, doesn't matter how you keep that balanced attack. So far, more run than pass, but that's okay. Right now it's being effective, and so keep the ball on the ground and move the chains.
Having a hard time getting back up and really holding on to that right leg.
Yeah, it's the ankle that got rolled.
T.J. Jackson. All 6'4", 305 pounds of him.
Not a small man.
No.
However, the ankle is not a big part of a body. And so if, even a reasonably, yes, it's the right ankle.
Well, it already seems to be heavily taped anyway, so
yes.
it might be a re-injury.
Yeah, but it doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much when it's already...
And you have even a guy 180 or more pounds roll on an ankle. That's a lot, especially in the pile.
Doesn't take much. So Gibbons and Saxton now in the backfield. These are receivers for Savannah State. Don't see a lot of action during the season. DeAndre Sneed, we haven't called his name yet, number 14. He's at the bottom of the screen.
Right.
He leads the team with 13 receptions.
Well,
13. Talked about Czar Benaby, 82. He has 10. Jamichael Baldwin, 6. That really rounds out all your receptions on the year for this run-heavy attack. And on top of that, only 140 yards average. And here's Gibbons, another delay. And he will get a huge gain on this one in South Carolina State. Enough of hands-off, handing it off to Sexton, and also spreading the field, I guess, keeps you honest.
Well, yeah, it does, but the adjustment's going to have to be made to spy on number 3. I mean, Gibbons is going to be the highest percentage of the running plays, and it makes sense because he's the most dangerous man because the ball gets snapped to him on every play.
And very deliberate here are the Tigers, even though they get to the line very quickly. It's first down. Inside the 25 as the Tigers continue to march. They want more than a field goal, I'm sure, out of this drive. And Saxton will try to find the edge and doesn't find much. This is a tough Bulldog defense to find the edge against.
Well, and the defense wants to stretch and string a play out, and a great job on the edge as we see Durant just funneling out Saxton towards the sideline, not allowing the rusher to turn upfield. And that's frustrating to guys like us because we want to get to that corner and then go north and south.
Kobe Durant with the pick to start out with the second play of the game. He was able to get a turnover against Savannah State. Big play there. Gibbons, nice move, and up the middle he goes. First down on goal to go from just inside the 5.
And this is a better decision because you have the option to have the jet sweep, and the action, again, takes the pursuit towards the outside. Gibbons finds a rushing lane towards the cutback. You know, people don't know this, but you're a big Seahawks fan. Kurt Warner, not the quarterback, but the running back, used to use that cutback move like a champ. I loved that move myself because of him, and you can see when effective, you can pick up big yards because it's football judo against the defense.
He knew how to run that counter, I can tell
you
that. 4.5 to go now, and the Tigers knocking on the door will hand it off to Saxton, and he'll inch his way to the 3-yard line.
Not many people give the great Kurt Warner a lot of love as a running back, but he was one of the finest in the 80s.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. No doubt.
As a kid,
for those of you that were alive during that time.
I was just saying, as a kid, or you got to go to YouTube. I was a kid, and he just uses the momentum of the defense against them, and it's hard to tackle you when they're going left and you're going right.
Definitely kept his head up majority of the time. He had good vision and trying for good vision. Here is Gibbons, and he'll get in from 3 yards out. Touchdown, Tigers. And they retake the lead.
And this is what you call a seesaw battle, as now the Savannah State Tigers jump out in front here. And just a very good block. 2 offensive linemen pulling and a running back out in front of the quarterback. And we know Gibbons can run well. And you don't need to have much happen except that sieve, and you just get behind that sieve and fall into the end zone.
Lugo, high snap, will have the extra point attempt, and it's up and it's good. From 3 yards out, Gibbons gets the score and the lead back in the Tigers' favor with 3:47 left here in the first half of play. That's only his 3rd rushing score of the year. It's hard to believe considering how often he does run the football.
He throws touchdown passes.
He throws some touchdown passes. He has 5 on the season. At this time, now both quarterbacks, as we expected, are the 2 lone carriers of the football for touchdowns in this game. Nick with a 48-yard jaunt up the middle has the 7 up on the board for, well, at least the 6 for South Carolina State, and Savannah State now just getting a 3-yard touchdown run by Gibbons.
Well, again, the most dangerous men for the offenses are the guys that get to touch the ball every snap, and those are the sophomore quarterbacks, and they run well with the ball, and Nick can throw it as well, but has made damage known today here by his feet and legs with the 48-yard scamper. Down 3 now, but still enough time, and all 3 timeouts, D, to be used, because you can't take them with you, for the Bulldogs.
Here's Chandler Williams, and he will line drive this one. He'll stay in the field of play. Got to get on top of that. Gets all the way to the 3-yard line, and then getting back on top of it wisely. And a really just miscalculated special teams effort for the Bulldogs will cost them dearly deep in their own territory. They're going to mark this at the 2-yard line.
So here's the way you get past this. When you have issue here, if you down the ball, you can get the ball back out at the 25.
If you just fall down on it,
if
like
you
they
fall down on it,
to.
No, you could have actually gone to one knee and down the ball.
Well, that would have. That's a calculated risk with a bunch of defenders that you're not sure where exactly they are.
I understand that.
It's a live ball. I understand what you're saying, Steve, but you're older and wiser. You played a few more downs. Here's a handoff right up the middle. And the Bulldogs, with 3.5 to go, can march this right down the field, get possibly a score before the end of the half, and that would be huge. That was Gerald Mandigold, the freshman, with the carry.
Good carry by the freshman. The ball out to the 9. So now breathing room, and Tyrese Nick. Don't forget about him.
Manigault didn't go anywhere that time. He gets blown up. Desmond Young, junior linebacker, with the big play there.
And I think Savannah State may be trying to preserve some clock for them.
Why wouldn't you? The offense looked great in that last series, and they will take a timeout. I'll stop the clock at 2:50, actually at 3:10, excuse me. So how things have shifted in this game, back and forth we go. It is definitely a seesaw affair. As soon as you think one team has regained some level of momentum, the other team's defense especially has changed that wave.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Remember, and this, season to season is very different, but, it was a 34-10 game last year in favor of Savannah State. So right now, South Carolina State doing well, staying within 3. And I think if they make the adjustments, they have a good opportunity to get back in front.
So here's another opportunity for the Tigers to get the ball back. There's a run play to past the 10 to the 11 by Manigault again. And the Bulldogs are saying they feel like this is very close to a first down, but it looks like about a yard difference.
So that's 4th down.
So I think it's 4th down. That's exactly right. And the Tigers with yet another opportunity on offense.
It was interesting because it looked like the rusher may have gotten to the 12, and then the ball was moved back to the 11. So I can see maybe why South Carolina State, for a second or a moment, believed that they may have picked the first down.
Interesting to see how close he did actually get. 3 minutes to go and a timeout taken on the field. I think that's Savannah State's last timeout. And we'll have reasonable starting field position possibly here coming up on the punt.
Right.
Baldwin, Jamichael Baldwin, the usual return man. I've not seen him in the game, and Saxton has been picking up those duties as well.
Petaway now needs to come up with a good one here.
Savannah State's out of timeouts. And Petaway halfway deep in his own end zone. To get this one off, he's averaging around 41 yards a punt. He'll need all that and a little bit more. Low snap. And he got it. Nice kick. And fielded, though. And brought up middle of the field. Still on his feet. And then upended and slammed down at the 26-yard line.
Yeah, and a good return, though, by a man that has had 2 opportunities to make interceptions. That hasn't happened.
Rutledge, that's right.
And then Terrell Goodwin says he'll have none of that. No more at the 26.
That will knock the air out of you. But that didn't keep the Tigers from going back any farther, as they have great starting field position, plenty of time, no timeouts. And now you get your sweep left-hand side. A nice tackle before anything else is made out of that play on the run to the left-hand side. And that by Trayvon Thomas, the redshirt sophomore.
Thomas looked like he might have gotten more, but a good open field tackle by the Bulldogs. Gilchrist.
Here's another Thomas run, this time right-hand side. And boy, does he stay on his feet still and get a first down near the 11. They quickly try to get back to the line here. William Campbell. No. Oh, that's Kicklighter, excuse me.
It's a cool name.
And he'll see a few more carries, I'm sure. And here the play action, though, looking to the end zone and overthrown.
I think that ball needed to be thrown early before the defender had a chance to, one, get in the passing lane, and then Gibbons had to loop the ball over the defender as opposed to catch his receiver in front of the defender.
This is second down.
Kicklighter throughout the season has had these little spot moments where they'll use him to shake things up. And he has done that exactly here, late stages of the first half of play. Savannah State opening up in a kind of an ugly first quarter. And quite honestly, if the Tigers have a chance in this game, it's going to be their defense and making it ugly. Got a 26-yard field goal, and now have a chance for more. Gibbons in space. Finally gets down very quickly before getting smacked inside the 10. Clock runs.
Gilchrist coming up. That would have been a big hit had Gibbons not slid into the 9-yard line.
Chad Gilchrist on the season leading the way in tackles for a loss with 5. That wouldn't have been that, but he might have knocked somebody's head off.
It would have been quarterback disruption. And 11 was.
The Tigers can get to the 2-yard line and get a first down. And they're at a minute to go. Plenty of time for the Tigers. Delay draw again. Gibbons sprints up the middle, and he will. No indication yet. Touchdown, Tigers. Second back-to-back rushing scores of the game here for Gibbons.
Yeah, and that just another quarterback draw. Nothing fancy. In fact, if you see here, 9 yards into the end zone, he didn't have to sell the pass very long before he took off.
45 seconds to go. And the extra point by Lugo is good, and all of a sudden it's a 10-point lead for Savannah State.
Yes, and that is because Gibbons and, as you mentioned, Kicklighter and a couple of others, and a great punt return to set things up initially for the Tigers by Rutledge.
And even though the defense is lion's share of this game for the Bulldogs have done very well, the offense has had a tough go and kind of put this defense in some difficult situations.
You have to convert on offense because, again, you only get so many opportunities, and as you mentioned, the defense has been valiant for the Bulldogs, but you got to have Nick and company get into the end zone.
And how big is that kickoff kind of
right, because the field
blunder.
position, exactly, the field position did not help South Carolina State, and then when they turned the ball over, it's a good kick by Petaway. However, Rutledge returns the ball to the 26, and it's a short field. Percentages are high to get some points on the board. Not only did they get some points, they got a touchdown. That being Savannah State.
So here we go. Chandler Williams to kick it off from the 35. The Tigers looking to roar into the locker room up by 10. See if the Bulldogs have something to say about it on a kick return on the left sideline.
It's the freshman again.
So Manigault will bring it up, and he is more the bruiser.
I think there's opportunity because South Carolina State still has one timeout.
You do.
You can go to the middle of the field, and remember, clock stops once you get a first down. You can spike it if you want to waste one down, still have 2 left. Not a minute on the play clock. You need to hurry up. So you can go ahead, try to get a couple of plays in, spike it, and have the timeout maybe for a field goal or a shot in the end zone.
Burrows and Cummings have come up big in this game as well. Now, sack from behind. The ball is loose, and Savannah State picks it up. Their second forced turnover of the game, a fumble behind. Not really feeling it was Nick. And the recovery is made into South Carolina State territory.
And yes, Nick fumbles the ball, picked up by number 90. Now, if you're Savannah State, do you take a couple of opportunities here on the 40-yard line of the Bulldogs? Why not?
Turnovers are killers. Right now the Bulldogs defense right back out onto the field. Gibbons, another delay, gets out of one tackle, but will find no room to the right. And that could very well do it. His helmet flies off, so Gibbons has to leave the game for one play. Clock stops at 16 seconds.
And a decision could be made. You could actually use your timeout here to get Gibbons back on the field. Well,
10-second runoff on top of that. So it's 6 seconds.
And could you have used the timeout to save the runoff is the question. Because if you'd have called the timeout, there would have been no delay. And you could say, let me keep all those.
Yeah, that's going to do it here anyway.
Right.
So Savannah State will conclude the first half in fine fashion on the road. And it will be SC State looking forward to only being down by 10 after they turn the ball over. But we'll get the ball to start out the second half of play, down by 10, 17-7 on Senior Day. We'll look to reverse their fortune on the other side of it coming up in the third quarter. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us here. Halftime concluding here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, at Bulldog Stadium, where we'll have some highlights for you, too. Defense really coming up big first, Steve.
Yeah, in the first half, as we see here, good play by the defensive line of South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, shutting down Gibbons, and then coming out the corner, number 30, Alex Brown, sacking Gibbons in the backfield, really tying up the quarterback until the second half. Now Tyrese Nick, you see him. He breaks from the left side, 48 yards to pay dirt. Gets the Bulldogs on the board, and they take the lead momentarily. Then you have Gibbons coming back for 3 yards towards the latter part of the second quarter, and Tigers take the lead as, again, you see number 3 getting to the end zone from 9 yards out. A great quarterback draw.
So now Tigers lead 17-7. They did start out the game with the football and promptly turned it over, Steve.
Yes.
But really, obviously, came back from that in fine fashion. And now the Tigers, who only have 2 wins on the season, are looking to close things out here in the MEAC as they move on to another conference. With a win here on the road, which is very difficult in South Carolina State, who have won their last 3 games. But they will start out the ball with the second half kickoff.
Yes, they will. And again, Savannah State has beaten the Bulldogs last year, the first time against Coach Pugh, and they believe they can come do it again. They won 34-10 last year, and now 17-7 at the half.
Coach Pugh 14-1 against the Rattlers last week. The South Carolina State scored the most points they have all season long with 44 against the Rattlers, but now held to 7 so far in this first half. Tigers defensively, what are they doing well here against the Bulldogs?
Well, they're shutting down Tyrese Nick, and clearly they're covering the receivers in the secondary, so not a lot of options for 3 in the dark-colored jersey as the first half had concluded, but Nick was apparently able to get away for a 48-yard scamper.
It's a Senior Day. A lot of things going on in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Senior Day, Hall of Fame, and former Student Athlete Appreciation Day. 14 players on the 2018 squad winding up their Bulldog careers this season. And Coach Buddy Pugh is also winding down his tenure at the helm of South Carolina State. and he has done it in fine fashion against the MEAC. He has 97 wins against only 35 losses. In the majority of the season, whenever we've covered these games, Steve, we've also said what a fine record he has against individual opponents throughout the course of his time in the MEAC and at South Carolina State. And all of 9-1 against Savannah State, as opposed to that one loss they had last season. But aside from that, he's also done a good job against this squad. He will be obviously a big part of this football program moving forward. I'm sure even if when he does leave, but tough to see him go.
Well, at some point in time, even the coaches you want to have last forever, it's their choice to say they want to step aside, but they do want to see their programs continue to do well. And I think you're exactly right. Coach Pugh will have some type of influence on this South Carolina State Bulldogs program.
Well, a couple of turnovers for South Carolina State made it very difficult for them to have any chance in the first half to have a lead. And right now they hope to start out the third quarter in different fashion. And so far, a little bit of a fumble there, but nice return down the right sideline. And South Carolina State will have good starting field position to start out this third quarter, down 17-7 here at home. And that's Tayshawn Baines, the freshman, with the return.
Tell you, anything's better than starting at your own 2, and it looks like the Bulldogs will start at their own 34-yard line here to open the second half. Maybe the 32. Well, and a flag, so now that's going to adjust the yardage, D. Hansen, for the Bulldogs.
So that against SC State. Both teams with full complement of timeouts. South Carolina State down by 10.
Well, the 6 is 3 times better than starting at the 2. However, it's inside your own 10, and that's 94 yards to go, partner, for a touchdown. And Tyrese Nick, he's going to have to do some magical things here on this opening drive of the second half.
I'm sure he's definitely up for the sophomore at Johnston, South Carolina. Highlighted as a player to watch out for, and Bulldogs continue to try to run. It's Manigault, the freshman, again trying to find some space left-hand side. The Tigers have been good against both the run and the pass all season long.
Well, good tackle, too, by William Campbell, number 22. But you got to lower your pads and your shoulders. And sometimes I like trucking guys that were tackling me because it was the only way I could take some of that out on them is to square up and get lower and try to drive through.
Nick out of that shotgun now, and he will wisely throw it left-hand side. It is caught. And that should be enough for a first down up to the 21-yard line. Able to stay on his feet and make the play. That out to Quan Caldwell, the senior. And we've seen him, especially it seems like the second half, really come out big for this team.
Yeah, he tried to make a couple plays in the first half, but you're right, the completion now here in the third quarter.
That keeps this drive going. Nick, a little spring in his step, will get past the 25.
And again, this beats the 6-yard line. And so here comes South Carolina State. The Bulldogs now with breathing room and moving the chains already here in this third quarter.
One of your keys to the game, Foss, coming into this one was if SC State can get to 21 points, they got a chance in this one. And right now, that's exactly what they need.
They have 2 quarters to get there, too.
There's the 21 jump street you were talking about. Nick and Knight. Tyrese Nick has a 48-yard touchdown run. Aside from that, though, he's been held in check. See if he can make a difference here in the third quarter. Nice play and just enough arm there from Desmond Young to trip up Nick.
And Nick, a sophomore, and he'll grow. Right now, he's 170 pounds. That's somewhat slight. And so you can get knocked off of your feet by guys that are 220, 230, 240.
Another big third down coming up for the Bulldogs. Started inside their own 10. Trying to keep this drive going. A delay, though, will be too much of one. And Nick goes down for a loss.
Well, the blocks weren't sustained long enough to sell pass then run. And Nick really actually did well, but nobody really put hands on the upcoming Savannah State Tigers front line. And so they just swallowed up Nick.
Cam Brown on the stop. Nice looking freshman, 6'3", 275.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice at any classification.
Here's Donald Rutledge, Jr., who will return this punt from Petaway, and exactly the way the Tigers wanted it to go here. Stop, and let's see what Rutledge can do. And he looks good up the middle right now, and then will be brought down, but not until nearly getting to midfield. The Tigers up 10 and now have a chance to extend that lead. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Insurance, just call Geico.
Good to know.
Get to know Geico for homeowners insurance.
Cloud on the carry. Brought down by number 11, Gilchrist.
Hey, back here at Orangeburg, South Carolina, and right back into action here at Bulldog Stadium. Savannah State up 17-7, and quickly back to action where at least Savannah State got a run off, and a nice one at that. Jalen McLeod working the left side of that line, nearly getting a first down, an 8-yard run into South Carolina State territory.
Covered it, partner, and great pickup on first down.
In these short situations for a run-dominated team here are perfect for the Tigers. And they do the same, nearly exact same play this time to Saxton. And he'll get the first down easily.
6 yards off the left side and a good off-tackle play. And you bring one of the offensive linemen around the pull, kicks out, and then the running lane is right to the inside. That would have been to the right as the offensive lineman pulls to the left, and so a little misdirection and a great run by Saxton.
That's back and forth there. Saxton at 170. McLeod, when he gets in the ball game, is about 25 pounds more at 195. There's a sweep right and lots of room. Right sideline, and then wisely getting out of bounds. This is another good run here. That's James Kicklighter. And now you have 3 different variables aside from Gibbons running the football well here for the Tigers.
Saxton provided the block to spring our man Kicklighter, and that jet sweep working well for the Tigers. And you got to like that the offensive, even the running backs blocking well.
Savannah State on a roll and leading 17-7 on the road against South Carolina State. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Infinity Winter Sales Event is on.
Beautiful afternoon here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, 61 degrees and no wind to speak of. It's definitely nice so far, but not so great for SC State as they find themselves down by 10 and reeling on defense. Now the offense really getting into gear here for the Tigers, sprinting right corner of the end zone, and Saxton, I believe, just bounced out of bounds as a flag comes in late at the 1-yard line.
Could be a face mask there, D. Hansen.
Timeout taken by SC State to try to calm things down. I'm assuming this defense having a hard time stopping the run for the Tigers, and right out of the timeout, another good run here for Saxton.
Yeah, and a good play call again, off tackle, get the lead blocker kicking out, and Saxton wasting no time getting into the red zone.
A senior can move out of Jacksonville, Florida. But it looks like people are inching away from that 1-yard line and coming back. We have a hold against the Tigers and a personal foul face mask. You got it, Voss. Offsetting penalties.
Replay the down.
Replay the down, no matter how you look at it. That's a huge deal.
I like the play call. And there's the hold.
You got the hold there on the right side. That's right.
There's the face mask. Could have been a horse collar as well, too.
Saw that reach in and sue. Yep. Nonetheless, it's not the ball at the 1 or the half-inch line. SC State can make a difference here. Run left, Gibbons, and he gets out of it somehow down the left sideline. Brought down deep out of bounds, and they're going to call a flag on that against Gilchrist.
I don't understand that. You have a rusher going inside the 10, and that's just momentum. And, again, a judgment call, but, you know, that wasn't a play that really hurt a rusher. But as an offensive guy, hey, you want to give me 4 more yards?
So tack it on the end of the run there.
Now they found
collar tackle. It wasn't so much the late hit, it was the fact he reached in. Let's see. Here's Gibbons. Boy, can he get out of tackles.
Coming left. I think you're right.
See some Gilchrist inside there. Brings him down. So now, almost a moot point compared to what happened with Saxton in the last run.
Correct.
Tigers end up almost where they would have.
You may give Saxton the ball to get him in the end zone.
And it will be Saxton trying to follow blockers, but the red wall comes up big and makes a stop for a loss against Saxton.
Sometimes everybody in the stadium knows what your next call is going to be. You have to change and get a wrinkle because you just felt like, oh, okay, well, you had your guy who was going to score in the last opportunity. He didn't. So, we'll give them the ball. But it doesn't matter that 2 guys are coming to the left side to get in front because 5 guys from South Carolina State knew that play was going to go to Saxton, and all they did was stay on the line of scrimmage and then attack the rusher.
Wayne Nichols came in there first, but then his friends came and made a play.
A lot of friends.
2nd down and goal to go. Here's a quick handoff left. Another big hit by Nichols. Keep any more scoring from happening there from Benaby, who tried to find the edge, could not. That brings up a 3rd down and goal to go.
And again, a good inside-out pursuit by the South Carolina State Bulldogs as they stop a rusher from trying to turn the corner and get in the end zone. And I think they can hold him here, D, maybe to a field goal. That's not 21.
That'd be a huge get. Huge get. Still a 2-score game. Easier said than done as Gibbons will have it now, and he will get met and stopped also for no gain.
So 4th and 5 for a touchdown. What do you do here? Because coming away with nothing right here and keeping this a 10-point game would be huge.
Tyrell Goodwin on the stop, the junior defensive lineman now, and Lugo, I think, is coming out.
I think that's a good call. Looks like it's about a 22-yarder, depending on where they actually put down the, it looks like the 12.
So Lugo started scoring with a 26-yard field goal late stages of the first quarter. And now we have movement. And we'll see who this will be against. Encroachment or
so illegal substitution.
Illegal substitution. Wow.
So you're not going to go for it to score a touchdown now.
No.
You definitely have
27-yarder.
There you go.
27-yard field goal.
Lugo 3 of 9 on the season. Tries to make it 4 of 10 here from the left hash. And it is no good. Huge stand for SC State. Unbelievable turn of events. This is what momentum needs. Here, let's see what the offense can do. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN. SC State holds on defense and pushes the Savannah State Tigers out a bit and causes them to miss a 27-yard field goal. So that has now SC State still down by 10, 17-7. Here in the 3rd quarter of play, Tyrese Nick will try to change the way this game has been going on the offensive end by handing it off.
Really good 4-yard run. I think that.
Mark Cummings.
But of course, a flag.
Laundry.
Yeah, not good.
SC State with an illegal shift.
It's not the motion, it's the shifting.
And it's been tough for the Bulldogs the majority of this game as they have not started in favorable starting field position majority of the time, and now we have a false start on the left side of the line.
Good night.
timing has been off a lot here with the offense.
Correct. You know, it gets frustrating. You know, the quarterback and the skill position guys are like, hey, fellas, just wait till the ball gets snapped and let us do some things. But now it's 1st and 20.
Malik Mickle moving forward.
Tyrese needs to take his offense under control here.
He'll try to do it through the air this time. Flare out left is a nice play. Up to the 20-yard line. So that gets something going at least to Jermaine Baxley.
And Baxley at least gets back most or all of the penalty yardage, so you can at least have 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12.
Oh, my God. Switch it at halftime, man.
6:25 and counting down left here in the 3rd quarter. Nick on the option down the right side. Pitches it really fast. The ball is loose again, and this could be yet another turnover. We'll see. No, it went out of bounds, I believe, before anybody could grab onto it. The officials are conferring, though. No confirmation yet.
And this is something hopefully they could replay if they really weren't sure. But an ill-advised pitch by Tyrese Nick.
I don't think anybody was ready for that one.
No, and I've had that happen to me, and you just get blasted because it's like, yo, why are you doing that?
Hold on to it.
Yeah.
And that's again where you kind of coming from, Foss, a little bit, where there could have been a couple more turnovers on interceptions that were dropped by Savannah State that Nick might be trying to do a little bit too much here with plenty of time left and only down by 10. Buddy Pugh looking on, and his offense will stay out into the field. So even though nobody said anything, it looks as though, again, the Bulldogs will hold on to it.
And right there,
he wasn't even looking.
you make a pitch, and, you know, the ball does go out of bounds. You can see Rutledge had a chance to maintain possession inbounds. It didn't happen.
Cummings not expecting it. He was already looking upfield. Now the officials will stop play. Maybe to reset the clock or
not sure.
Play clock. Jarius Jenkins in there along with Tyrese Nick. Just saw them hands on hips, trying to get back into the flow of things. It's hard to when the officials are stopping. 5:20. Reset the game clock. Jenkins outright out of the shotgun. And now what it seems to be always an important down for the Bulldogs. With only 3 down linemen showing here for the Tigers. They are backing off. Only send 3. Nick through the air. Nearly picked off again at the 25. Right out of the hands of Savannah State, and William Campbell had 6. They may able to hold on to that one.
Well, that just was a quarterback that didn't set his feet. And so the ball slings out wide away from the intended receiver. And actually, better positioned, as you mentioned, was Campbell, and he played defense.
Senior punter coming out, and Jerome Petaway. He's a 71 for a long. He could really use it right now.
That's a long
Rutledge to return it. And he'll fair catch it at around the 36-yard line. Just outside the shadows, the Tigers back in business. The offense comes back out onto the field, leading by 10 with 5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Chevy models, or make no monthly payments until next year. The Black Friday sales event ends soon. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Gibbons is coming back out on the field here for the Tigers of Savannah State as they lead 17-7 on the road against South Carolina State and the Bulldogs. Bulldogs trying to even themselves up. The record at 4-5 so far. The Tigers rounding out the season at 2-7. Look to play spoiler. Get their first win on the road on the season right now. Shaping up pretty good as the offense continues to really churn some really good yardage on the ground. And Jalen McLeod has been a large part of that success.
Yeah, he's the most dangerous man for the offense. He gets to snap every play, and he's made good decisions.
And Gibbons usually has been doing that too. But McLeod at that 6'1", 195, nearly 200-pound back barreling down on you. Wearing down this defense, and Gibbons will keep it this time, and he won't find any room. In fact, he loses the football, and I believe the Bulldogs have it. And if they do, it will be a great field territory. Coming up with it in his hands, at least, is Kendrick Gathers.
Ford, the initial man there, and then he strips Gibbons.
Ford has had a great game.
Yes, he has.
So far. Second turnover of the game for Savannah State.
Do you remember I spoke about adjustments? The adjustments on that quarterback read have been made by South Carolina State, and a strip there as the spin tackle by Ford was in progress, and a good call.
4:08 left in the third quarter. Big time for big plays. And Nick will try to get that going as he does find a good edge left side and gets near the 30-yard line. And this is the time for Nick to get things going with his legs.
Shifty moves, getting to the sideline, working his way away from the defenders. The pursuit was coming inside out, but good gain on first down.
Burrows at the top of the screen. Still, you can see how the sun might cause some issues. Handoff goes up the middle. Jarius Jenkins, really, when he gets going too. Talk about momentum. Hard to stop. Redshirt sophomore.
Jenkins is a nice rusher of the ball. Good sized guy. Nice shifty moves.
Nick now throws left, caught, and all the way to the 21-yard line on that pitch and catch to Omar Cummings.
Use the running back as a receiver, get him out on the edge. He knows how to run through tackles, and another good pickup.
What a big time it would be for a score before the end of the third quarter as Cummings goes in motion. He gets the handoff, breaks it back inside, and gets to the 10-yard line.
Nice to use Omar Cummings as a receiver and coming on the sweep here to the right side of the offensive set, cuts back inside and drags. That's Rutledge. Rutledge is everywhere.
He is everywhere.
Good size too.
Cummings a little bit confused now, will situate himself out far left and back in motion again. Jenkins gets blasted.
And here's the thing, Tyrese Nick should have seen that coming off, that rush by the Tigers coming off the end. If he pulls that ball, he's got nobody to his left.
That was Campbell, the senior linebacker.
Yeah, Campbell came
flying through.
Yeah, but if you look up and you see, as you have the option to pull it back, there will be nobody home because that linebacker came on that blitz.
Here's Nick again. This time he keeps it left side. He might find the corner, and he leaps in for the touchdown. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
All right, he kept it the next play. Very well. Very well, Tyrese Nick. At night, afternoon, I feel like I need some KC and the Sunshine Band. Early morning, afternoon, or at midnight. Nick at night. Nice score.
Found the space. The offensive line for the Bulldogs pulled it together.
Dipped in and then came near side and followed his blockers.
Extra point coming up here from Bredesen. And he'll boot that one through with 1:46 left in the third quarter. Bulldogs are back in business on the ground with Nick, his second rushing score of the afternoon. Yep. Now we're looking at this again.
And a nice play there. It's about a 12-yard touchdown run. Tyrese Nick, number 3.
Good patience there from the sophomore.
Yeah, and work your way away from the defenders. Didn't need the cutback there. There was too much pursuit from the inside. And Tyrese Nick is fast. And he can find the edge. Found a couple of blocks and then did the rest on his own as he dives into the left, towards inside the left pylon.
He's been averaging around 2 rushing scores a game over this last 3-game winning streak. He had 6 coming in those last 3 games. And so here he keeps that going.
How big has the defense been for the Bulldogs today? South Carolina State has turned away the Savannah State Tigers offense, literally knocking on the door like trick or treat during Halloween several times.
And how the defenders, a couple of them at least, even for the Tigers, have gotten been shooting themselves in the foot. Another fumble and a kickoff. Sometimes that's just enough to delay things and nearly losing the football. But the Tigers have had their opportunities to get turnovers and then not make it happen.
Yeah, there were some takeaway opportunities, but
I mean, William Campbell nearly had the interception on this drive that culminated into a touchdown.
Rutledge, we said, probably dropped 2 interceptions. And that's unfortunately signs of teams that aren't winning.
And why you're not a wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Most receivers would say that to the defensive back, by the way.
It does. Ad nauseum. Say, man, you know why you play D? Because can't catch. A lot of that in practice.
It'll be now the defense for South Carolina State's turn to see if they can keep this momentum going. And Savannah State not getting away at all from what got them this lead with the run to Saxton to the left-hand side.
And this energizes your defense. The defense have been playing well with no points on the board. Now, coming back to a 3-point game here at home, senior day, and there's some life in this Bulldogs offense and defense.
From the 18-yard line.
Tigers have been doing this a lot during the game, spreading out the field with receivers so Gibbons can have room to run. He hands it off and nowhere to go, and a huge loss. We're about 7 on the play. Saxton held back.
Swallowed up. And Brown, the linebacker, number 28, does not get the horse collar and also does not get the face mask as he spins Saxton around, and then his teammates come in and clean up the tackle.
Big tackle for a loss.
Great defensive pursuit. And again, I think this South Carolina Bulldogs defense is energized. Forward on the last series, and now you see a great play by 28.
3rd and a mile. Gibbons will have to go through the air for this one. The left, he throws it. It's complete at the 35. Streaming down the middle of field, well into Bulldog territory for a huge first down. Right down the gut to Travion Pratt, the freshman, coming up big.
And there's a post pattern on the left side. And I like that because the receiver can make an adjustment and then make it a foot race. And right there, somebody let the freshman inside. I think someone thought it was zone and someone thought it was man. And that's when you can make those big plays.
That will conclude the 3rd quarter. And the Tigers now looking to pour it on through the air. Try to do that and continue that. The 4th quarter coming up here from Orangeburg. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX December 21st.
Back here at Bulldog Stadium in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Dee Hanson joined by Steve Foster here on ESPN. Buddy Pugh, head coach for South Carolina State, looking on, see if his defense can come up big here against the Tigers of Savannah State, who leads 17-14. 4th quarter just getting underway as we go right to left. This is a series where these two teams, not a lot of meetings, 19th meeting now going into this one. But you have to go back to 1915, the last time, or the first time these two teams met, where you have a game that was decided by 7 points or less in the series. It was 12-7, the final score for SC State. And right now we have a 3-point game.
A good run there for a first down.
They're all good when they go for first downs. McLeod with the carry.
Yes, they're all good when they go for first downs. They're not all good.
No.
Sometimes they go back.
You get the first down.
It's all good.
It's good. Right now the Tigers, although obviously leaning, it feels like 99% of the time on the run, might have one of the biggest plays in this game, at least thus far. It definitely is with that last big catch.
No doubt.
From the freshman. Now here's a handoff, sweep left by McLeod, and he is taken down at around the 20. And this is how the game has been going for Savannah State, very deliberate on the ground.
And they should be, because, as you mentioned, that's their strength. They need a balancing act, and they got that balance with that big pitch and catch to the freshman wide receiver. And we mentioned Pratt going on a post pattern in the third quarter, going the opposite way to now get these Tigers down inside the 30.
You got 3 backs to deal with for Savannah State out of the I. Gibbons will keep it, and he'll be shy that first down inside to the 18.
And a good adjustment made by South Carolina State. The Bulldogs not allowing that quarterback keeper, that draw keeper, to really get the yardage it was getting in the first half.
Pensive crowd here on hand. This has been a game that Savannah State has led from the beginning. And then did give it up temporarily after a Nick 48-yard touchdown made it 7-3. But since then, mid part of the second quarter, they've held on to it. They're trying to do that now. Gibbons brought down from behind. Nobody fooled for the Bulldog defense, and fourth down coming up.
Exactly. And I love the pressure that these Bulldog front four get. And it's the usual suspects, 35 and 98. And they're not going to allow Gibbons now on senior day to get loose in that secondary.
Bruce Johnson, apparently an archer.
And Ford, yeah, you like that. Robin Hood.
Little Robin Hood. Fourth down, and the Tigers gunning for it. Up by 3, and when you're 2-7, it's the last game of the season. You're not going to be in the conference anymore after this game.
Go for it.
What are you going to do?
Go for it.
That's right. Gibbons back, 4 rushers, gets rid of it, and it will be incomplete at the 9-yard line.
Good defense in the secondary. And again, more usual suspects as Durant breaks.
What a great game he's had. A huge breakup here, and he had an INT to start out the game. And Pratt going back to the freshman to try to make another big play.
Well, he had a good space to be available for reception, but the defense was even better as Durant reaches in to the freshman and knocks the ball away.
Plenty of time to go here, but the Bulldogs with a nice stand, and they've had at least 2 or 3 of those this deep in their own territory. Nick keeps it up the gut for about 5.
Good first down play. And you want your playmaker to feel comfortable here in this fourth quarter. And again, rushers can be switched in and out. We've seen 20, we've seen 18, and we've seen 32, along with Nick.
It keeps those White Sox up to the knees. He'll hand it off for a modest gain right side by Detron James.
Then Jenkins, 24.
You got a third down coming up.
Or, excuse me, Jenkins, 32. Let's say, just wanted to make sure I clarified. I faked out myself. Okay.
James to the right of Nick.
Nick looking like he's trying to draw somebody outside.
I think so. When you only need 4 yards to get you your first down.
The decision
cycle through
needs to be done here.
Play action. Nick in trouble, and he'll be brought down for a loss. Both of these defenses coming up big. A little pushing and shoving towards the end of that one as we get closer and closer towards the conclusion of this game. Salik McCray, the freshman, at 275 making the stop.
Yeah, that's a large amount of man.
Yep.
It's hard to get away if you're 170 versus 275. I can do that math.
Junior DB Donald Rutledge deep to receive. Stopped by the Tigers. Makes that last stop for the Bulldogs not seem quite as big of a deal. Head away, gets it away. It might have been blocked. It's not a good kick though, and it's near midfield on this. It's touched up there. Savannah State on top, 17-14. We'll have the ball coming up. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN. Savannah State back out on the field offensively. They have looked good a lot of this game, and the Tigers defense trying to also make it a well-rounded performance. They have. Yes. South Carolina State coming off of a 44-point performance last week against the Rattlers of Florida A&M. It was the most points over a MEAC opponent since 2016 in that decision. Right now, held in check at 14 points. Right now, the defense for the Bulldogs has also done a good job of keeping this as a close game. A lot of times for the Tigers deep into Bulldog territory, came out with nothing. And right now, the Bulldogs trying to continue that with about 9 minutes to go as we count down here in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Dee Hanson joined by Steve Foster here on ESPN as the Tigers. The one thing they have done really well, aside from obviously have a lead in this game for the majority of the time, is have great starting field position for their offense. In a battle of field position, the Tigers would win that contest.
Gotta have the numbers too.
Second down and short. Ball comes loose. South Carolina State has it, returns it down the right sideline and into the end zone for a touchdown. Dwayne Nichols with the fumble recovery for the score.
That was a strip. That was a strip. And all those people you were asking, D, seem to be serene. They're up on their feet and they are excited. As you see here at midfield, a fake and a keep, and the ball just pops out after Ford dislodges the ball from Gibbons again. And as you mentioned, that man going 55 yards is number 10, Nichols, into the end zone. What a turn of events.
Second lead of the game for SC State. You have to go back to 14:08 in the second quarter, 7-3 to find that. And Nichols comes up huge. The extra point pending.
Unreal.
Third turnover of the game by SSU turns into 6 and 7 points now, as SC State will carry a 21-17 lead with 8:42 left in the fourth quarter against Savannah State. Unbelievable how things can change in the turn of one play. A 56-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown by Nichols makes it 21-17. SC State on top here at home. 8:42 left against Savannah State. The Tigers have plenty of juice though left, and a good rushing attack as they have shown all game long. But those are the differences that you see, Foss, and you talked about it before. Savannah State has had multiple opportunities to turn the Bulldogs over when they were on defense, could not get that to go their way, and Nichols, right place, right time.
3 takeaways so far and 2 created by Gibbons as he's fumbled.
That ball's still loose. You got to pick it up, and finally Saxton does, but not until he's thrown down at the 11. And Saxton's given all of his special teams players a earful.
Well, it's a free kick. It's not a punt. So you just can't let the ball wind up on the turf to be down. You have to possess it, or the kicking team can come possess it, and it would have been a short field at the 11 for South Carolina State.
South Carolina State had been leading the turnover margin battle a lot of this season. Now they sit at +6. It came in +5. This fray against the Tigers. tied with Morgan State and Bethune-Cookman with 13 INTs. Now they have 14 coming into this game. And Saxon tries to find some room left side. Finds a little. Wilchrist able to escort him out of bounds, and that will bring up a second down.
Yeah, and good play there, but the momentum has shifted. And now I think the better of the two teams is leading, at least, you know, as people will say, the score in your record will tell you exactly who you are. And right now, 4 and 5 is beating 2 and 7.
Here is Gibbons still in there, of course, a quarterback, and he will hand it off. And this has been working well, finding the edge this time and getting a really good gain on the far sideline near the 30-yard line. Savannah State continues to do well on the ground.
Yeah, they do, and that was a good run there, as we mentioned, by Kicklighter, number 23. A swing slot back guy that's done a lot of jet sweeps today.
Gibbons now will play action. It look deep down the right side and fling it. It will be incomplete, underthrown.
Brown on the coverage, and the ball, you're right, was underthrown, but a good pattern to get open. And you like to see that, and I like Gibbons going downfield. He's trying to get back in the game, 7:20 in the game.
It's actually T.J. Bell who just threw that ball. I noticed that he was right-handed that time. So Bell coming up short on the pass intended for Beneby.
And Bell, the sophomore, number 11.
He's passed it 55 times on the season. He'll find some room to run. He's not nearly the runner Gibbons is. Has the arm. The sophomore out of Louisville, Georgia. Look right now, will run left. He is in trouble. And will have to go out of bounds.
And it could be the 2 fumbles by Gibbons.
Could be. And Bell at 6'3", 195 has some size on him as well. Gibbons already had 6'2", 205 out there. Both of them sophomores.
As you mentioned, though, not the rusher. So Bell looking to just make sure that he doesn't turn the ball over, get out of bounds, and live to fight another day, or down in this instance.
Saxton, your back left-hand side out of the shotgun. Here's Bell looking to pass. Flushed out again, and he will just get rid of it to avoid the sack.
And again, good pursuit by that South Carolina State defensive line D. And the right-handed quarterback, he's going the hard way, because that's rolling left and Ford, number 35, in hot pursuit.
You can't say enough about Damu Ford in this game. The linebacker has been sensational. And a standing ovation here for the defense for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and the punt team comes out for the Tigers.
Lugo to punt at his own 13-yard line. Will do so to Traquan DeBose. Just gets rid of it. Nice rush up the middle. Bose will pick it up and then whistles. I guess he fair caught it.
Well, you know, and if you try to advance a fair catch, that is a penalty. So.
It usually is. That's why I'm curious why there's not a penalty out there.
I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Well, now Uncle Mo certainly has new residents as the shadows continue to creep across.
Uncle Mo or Buddy?
Bulldog Stadium, yes. And I can imagine a few rushing plays might be in the works here for the Bulldogs. Hand off to James. Statron will get to midfield. Nice cutback. Finally stopped by William Campbell, who's also had a nice game at linebacker for Savannah State.
He has.
Working on that clock. Buddy Pugh looking to round things out here. Makeup game next week coming up here in Orangeburg.
Exactly. Ball at midfield, D. Hansen.
It is. Two receivers left side on the second down, and a throw out left, getting some space. Nice spin, and then getting across for a first down.
That's huge, and that'll take some time off the clock. As we go to our guy, Jermaine Bailey for South Carolina State. And a good move to get away from Rutledge. 21 sneaking away from 21 because Rutledge was barreling down, and that would have been a loss after the catch. But now it's a first down.
Actually has shown some good moves since he's been able to get involved in the offense.
I like Baxley. Calming presence for Nick.
Two receivers right-hand side, and a shift. As Nick will hand it off. Nice space again. Left side, and breaking it back in is Datron James.
James almost was one step away.
You felt it, didn't you?
Yes, I did. But I love that the fact that James comes and he's leaning forward. He's got that forward lean, and that picks up about 6. And again, tick, 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 tick. 4:47 here in the fourth. With the Bulldogs with the ball in the lead, they have to protect the ball, possess it, and just move the chains a couple more times.
Tigers need a touchdown right now as it stands. And James making it difficult for him as he continues to rush the football well, and give a lot of credit to that offensive line. Gaping holes here for Datron James to find.
5'10", 201 pounds, and built well, and gets that forward lean going again. Picks up the first down. Again, that clock now looking to tick under 4 minutes. South Carolina State just needs to possess the ball and keep moving it closer and closer to Savannah State's end zone.
When you start worrying about using timeouts if you're Savannah State?
Probably around 2 and 3 minutes.
First down. Lots of shifting now from both sides, and movement as well. And this will more likely be against the Bulldogs. It looked as though the Bulldogs had the Tigers in a bind.
They may have. I think the play clock was what people were concerned with on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, false start against the Bulldogs. That's a tough one.
Well, you still possess the ball. I'm okay with the fact that if you go 5 yards the wrong, because I think all these offensive skilled players were recognizing that the play clock was running down.
That ball has to move first.
That's right. That doesn't mean that you go.
That's right. They're trying to calm everybody down now. Baxley in motion. And Nick will keep it. Gets out of one tackle. Looks to throw, but he'll wisely keep it. I think that was just a decoy, and he gets to about the 36.
And he does.
Dangerous play.
He does what the rules say. 1 spin, 2 split. Meaning if you have 1 defender, spin away from him. If you have 2 defenders coming at you, try to split them.
Clock runs at 3 to go now, and the Tigers have to start thinking about using their timeouts.
Absolutely. I think between 2 and 3 minutes, you really have to consider clock management. Everybody knows, and they've heard the 2-minute drill. So you want to certainly have 2 minutes if you can, but the whole idea for South Carolina State is to now keep possessing the football.
Bulldogs wearing this down. High snap. Here's James, and he will get near the 30. Still need about 7-8 yards for a first here for the Bulldogs, and a timeout taken by Savannah State, I believe. They have 2 remaining with 2:34 left here in the waning stages of the game. SC State leads 21-17. You're watching MEAC Football on ESPN.
Saver card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and 4% on entertainment. Now when you go out, you cash in. What's in your wallet?
And this one. She's a little taller, but yeah, this one definitely out.
Here, 2:34 left in the game, and South Carolina State with the football. 2 timeouts apiece. And the Bulldogs trying to run it out here on the Tigers. Probably have something to say about that. One of the better defenses in the MEAC. Have shown that in the majority of this game, but right now trying to certainly not break and bend just a little bit more. Nick will keep it on a 3rd and 8 and will go nowhere. Brought down from behind smartly by the Tigers and Salik McCray. And that is a big play. Savannah State, I think, takes another timeout. They have 1 remaining. 2:17 left and down by 4.
So this is an interesting call by Buddy Pugh as well, because do you make them use their last timeout? Because what do you really gain? You really want to take away the timeout. You're at about the 30. If you can get the ball maybe into the 25, that's almost as good as a punt. They still have to go 75 yards, and they would have no timeout.
Who knows? You might get the first down.
That's correct.
Then you can close things out.
It's over, because only with 1 timeout left, you couldn't stop the clock enough. With 2:25 left. You're absolutely right.
You're saying don't go for the field goal?
No.
Okay. Well, they're going to punt it anyway. Petaway from his own 45. Try to coffin corner kick this one.
Ray Guy
step back, and we'll see how he goes. Nice punt, and it will be out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
That was the Ray Guy move.
Whoa.
That was the Ray Guy move.
Beautiful.
And if you don't know who Ray Guy is, he is the only punter in the Football Hall of Fame from my Oakland Raiders. Unbelievable. That's a great punt. Unbelievable. That's like hitting...
Everything's on the line, too.
It's like hitting a wedge to about 2 feet from the pin, from about 150 yards.
Those are the football just at the 1, 99 yards to go to take the lead for Savannah State. There's no other option with 2:17 left. 1 timeout. Bulldog defense raring to go. And it's Bell back in there. He'll throw it and get it out and caught and out of bounds.
And I'm not
first down.
I'm not sure why there was so many defenders backed off, because you have a quarterback that hasn't played much of the game. Make him throw the ball a long way and make him maybe intercept. He throws from about 7 yards deep in his end zone, and there's nobody around the big tight end.
Harris Baker, a senior, with the reception, and most importantly now, the Tigers have some breathing room, but we're still under 2 to go. The clock runs. T.J. Bell throws it, and it will be incomplete.
And that's forward again. Could not get to Bell, but he puts his hands up in the passing lanes and knocks the ball incomplete.
So we saw a lot of Devon Gibbons, and he was the player to watch coming into this game, coming off of last year when he took on SC State. He had 2 touchdown passes, 267 yards. Had a great game last week against North Carolina A&T and the Aggies. 145 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, but pulled after a couple of fumbles, I believe. And now T.J. Bell in here to try to see if he can do it with his arm. He's not much of a runner. 144. Bell in trouble. Brought down and sacked at the 5. Bruce Johnson with the sack.
Johnson's pretty good. And he and Ford have been in the backfield. They are wreaking havoc on Senior Day.
And I believe Savannah State has taken their final timeout of the game.
What a play by 98.
That's what sacks do. They make you take timeouts.
Absolutely.
Now we'll do it for Savannah State with timeouts. 1:32 left. And a 3rd and a mile coming up for the Tigers. The Bulldogs defense coming up big.
I tell you, if Bruce Johnson wants to play on the next level at 6'1", 220, he can play outside linebacker, where he can get a running start, doesn't have to put his hand down on the turf, and he can just roam. We can see he can swallow up people and tackle them. So a big addition to this defensive line for South Carolina State today, but he's flexible enough with his body and his size that he can play outside linebacker on the next level.
He's definitely flying around. It's late afternoon now.
And he and Ford just seem to be so much quicker than the offensive linemen of Savannah State.
Move forward, another linebacker here for South Carolina State. Doing a big job now, and a 3rd down and around 17. Rear back is Bell, throws it right side. It's well overthrown. His intended receiver, Pratt, the freshman. Would have been about 2 yards shy of the first, but and now it's 4th down and the game on the line.
Yeah, and you see that defensive line still coming at Bell. Bell inserted into the game after 2 fumbles from Gibbons, and one was a fumble 6 return. A fumble return 6. It wasn't a pick 6, but a return 6, even though it was caught in the air.
Defense has definitely been the name of the game for both of these schools today. Right now the Bulldogs leaning on that to try to close things out. Bell flushed out, gets rid of it, right side, it's complete, but well shy of the 1st down, and that should do it. Janelle Brown, the junior linebacker, making the stop, and no offensive touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
And that's a down one, but listen, Petter with the unbelievable punt to the 1-yard line, Ray Guy style. He is the greatest punter, at least he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then the defense stepping up all day, and again here to keep Savannah State from reaching a 1st down and continuing with downs here with about $1:30 left here in the 4th on Senior Day.
Savannah State led at one point with 45 seconds to go, 17-7. Late stages of the 2nd quarter. And had their opportunities as well to close things down this game with a couple of interceptions that were dropped. And South Carolina State roars back with a 56-yard fumble recovery for a score by Nichols. And that's the difference in the ball game right now.
Right, and no need to use a timeout because this is certainly going to be enough time or not enough time for Savannah State to make a difference. So recognizing the fact there needs to be probably 1, maybe 2 more snaps.
Buddy Pugh will go to 10-1 in his career against Savannah State. 1 game remaining, but retirement on the horizon for the 17th year head coach at South Carolina State. Eric Rayburn will fall to 8-23 at SSU as they will move on out of the MEAC after this game is concluded and go to the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference after about a 10-year stay or an 8-year stay here in the MEAC.
I don't think this ball needs to be snapped. It may be.
And the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl will come down to A&M and North Carolina A&T, but Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State play themselves into contention for a share of the title, depending on what ends up happening for the rest of the afternoon and evening. And right now, South Carolina State, with the victory, can enjoy a 4-game winning streak going into their makeup game next week. And kudos to this team for sticking in it after being down by 10 early. Take on North Carolina Central coming up, and Savannah State ends their record at 2-8 on the season after the loss.
Yeah, great effort today by the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Their defense doing it, special teams, Nick at Night, Tyrese Nick doing it all.
So for my broadcast partner, Steve Foster, I'm Dee Hanson saying so long from Bulldog Stadium here in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Your final score, 21-17. South Carolina State takes care of Savannah State. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.